We all grew up believing that a pizza dinner once meant joy, comfort, and a carefree moment. But what if that very tradition is quietly turning into a gamble with your health and your wallet? You may not realize it, but in just the first months of 2025, food safety inspections in the U.S. found that nearly half of the Pizza Hut locations checked in one region were cited for violations, from unlabeled sauce bottles to poor cold storage. At the same time, a nationwide consumer survey revealed that carry-out pizzas served piping hot scored almost 60% higher in satisfaction than those delivered lukewarm. The gap between expectation and reality is exactly why this story matters. Stay with us until the end, because we're exposing 5 pizza chains you should avoid, 2 that still honor their promise, and a practical checklist you can use tonight to protect your health. Pizza Hut. Let's start with a name that once felt untouchable. Pizza Hut in 2025 has become the perfect storm of what consumers fear most: paying more while getting less. Reports from state health departments show that several locations across Tennessee and Ohio were cited this year for issues ranging from missing date marks on toppings to improper cold storage. In one Ohio inspection, regulators flagged a soda fountain with visible buildup, while a Tennessee location was written up for failing to keep chicken at safe holding temperatures. These aren't rumors, they're official reports, and they paint a picture that's difficult to ignore. For a moment, though, it's worth remembering what Pizza Hut used to be. The red roofs glowing on the roadside, checkerboard tablecloths, and that deep pan crust that became the centerpiece of birthday parties in countless American families. Back then, it wasn't just pizza. It was family night, nostalgia baked in a pan, which is why the fall hits even harder. Today's reality looks very different. Shrinkflation has quietly crept into the menu. A large pie that once stretched 12 inches now measures closer to 10.5 in some markets, and the cheese has shifted from 100% mozzarella to blends bulked out with additives. Franchisees have admitted to relying on frozen dough shipped cross-state to save costs, leaving crusts that taste more like cardboard than celebration. Local news outlets have documented inspection lapses, such as missing sanitizer test kits or prep lines with expired sauces still in use. These details may sound small, but they add up to one big problem: trust eroded slice by slice. The bigger question is why it all spiraled. Pizza Hut operates on a franchise model, and many of those small operators are stretched thin. Rising food costs and pressure from corporate to push promotions mean corners get cut. When executives prioritize quarterly cost savings, the training budgets shrink, equipment upgrades get delayed, and the final product suffers. What you're holding in the box is not just a pizza, it's the reflection of an overworked system. And the value gap becomes glaring when you look at the receipt. The advertised price for a large pizza might be $14.99, but by the time you add delivery charges, a small order fee, and a service fee, your total can climb past $22. That's before tip. Add to that the fact that topping portions have been quietly reduced over the last year. A quick kitchen test weighing pepperoni portions from 2024 against 2025 shows fewer slices per pie. And it's clear customers are spending more while biting into less. Is there any safe path forward for loyal fans? Possibly. Some locations still maintain inspection scores above 90, and customers report that ordering pizzas well done, fresh out of the oven, improves texture and reduces greasiness. Choosing transparent combos with clearly listed ingredients also lowers the risk of hidden fillers. And if you're lucky enough to live near a strong local pizzeria with good hygiene grades, that may be your best bet. But the bigger story is that Pizza Hut once symbolized abundance and family trust, and in 2025 it has come to symbolize the dangers of neglect. The red roof still stands in some towns, but the warmth inside feels dimmer. If this chain stumbles on hygiene and value, what happens when another giant collapses, not from cost cutting, but from chaos of its own making? Papa John's if. Pizza Hut's story was about slipping value. Papa John's in 2025 is about slipping trust. Customer satisfaction surveys this year ranked the chain near the bottom among major pizza brands, and many low-income neighborhoods have quietly watched their local stores shut down. To longtime fans, the decline feels like betrayal, especially for a company that once built its identity on the promise of better ingredients, better pizza. Think back to when that slogan meant something. Papa John's used to market itself as the fresher, cleaner alternative to the greasy giants. The garlic sauce, the pepperoncini in every box, the slightly sweeter dough that made it feel premium. All of it stood for a chain that was once trusted. Families ordered on Friday nights believing they were choosing quality over compromise. That memory makes today's reality all the more jarring. The trouble now is overload. In the past 18 months, Papa John's has pushed more than 10 limited-time offers and endless menu variations. On paper, variety looks exciting. In practice, kitchens are overwhelmed. Workers are juggling too many recipes, ovens are breaking down or slowing, and customers report pizzas showing up undercooked with barely their toppings. Complaints from Texas to Michigan tell the same story: thinner pepperoni layers, half-melted cheese, and soggy crusts that feel rushed out the door. Local news outlets have highlighted ticket times stretching past an hour during peak rush, while social media posts show photos of pizzas so bare they look unfinished. Behind the glossy rebrand efforts, the back of house simply has not kept up. A new logo, modernized store design, and digital marketing campaigns may catch the eye, but if the dough is still frozen too long and the toppings spread thin, no fresh coat of paint can fix what's broken. Franchisees admit privately that keeping up with corporate's demand for constant product launches has stretched them thin, especially when equipment malfunctions and staff turnover are constant headaches. There are also lingering concerns about ingredient quality. Pepperoni and sausage blends vary by supplier, and in some regions, watchdog groups have raised questions about fillers and binders being used to keep costs down. While not inherently unsafe, this raises doubts about whether Papa John's is still living up to its own better ingredients standard. When the promise and the plate don't match, consumers notice. The receipt tells its own story. Long ticket times during peak hours mean you are not just paying with dollars, but with patience. A pie that should take 20 minutes may drag on to 50 or more, especially when ordered through third-party apps where communication lags. Photos of sparse toppings spread across social platforms serve as visual evidence that customers are spending full price for half the product. Still, there are ways to navigate the decline. Avoid the limited-time offers, which are the biggest strain on overwhelmed kitchens. Stick to core menu items that staff can execute consistently, and request your pizza well done to minimize undercooking. Opt for pickup when possible, bypassing third-party delivery that often compounds delays. And if you have access to a reliable local shop with strong health scores, that alternative may serve both your wallet and your taste buds better. Papa John's rise and stumble show how a brand can lose its way not through scandal alone, but through self-inflicted overload. If Pizza Hut tripped over hygiene and value, Papa John's faltered by drowning in its own menu chaos. Which raises the next question. What happens when a chain elevates speed to a religion and sacrifices everything else for the promise of 30 minutes? Domino's. If Papa John's has been weighed down by menu chaos, Domino's in 2025 shows what happens when a brand becomes obsessed with speed above everything else. Blind taste tests this year ranked Domino's near the bottom for freshness, despite its prices climbing faster than many competitors. Consumers are paying more but often report they feel they are getting less in terms of taste and texture, and that mismatch sparks frustration. It is hard to forget the nostalgia. The 30-minute guarantee once defined an era. Domino's revolutionized delivery culture in the United States, turning weeknight dinners into a quick fix that seemed futuristic in its time. The pizza tracker added to the fun, making customers feel like their meal was being carefully followed step by step. The brand's identity was built on that promise of speed, a promise that felt like a friend showing up at your door right on time. But behind the curtain, speed has become both obsession and weakness. The kitchens often run like assembly lines, with staff pushed to prioritize volume over craftsmanship. The tracker, once innovative, now feels more like a marketing tool than a real reflection of the process, with many customers noting wide gaps between the digital updates and actual delivery times. Investigations by consumer groups have highlighted that centralized ingredient hubs, while efficient, often extend shelf life at the expense of flavor. Dough and cheese stored to maximize distribution logistics can hold up for weeks, but the taste that reaches your plate feels flat and industrial. Complaints across social media show pizzas arriving lukewarm or unevenly cooked. Some customers have even shared videos testing internal temperature, showing pies arriving well below the safe hot hold standard recommended by the FDA. While these results vary, the pattern has raised concerns that speed-focused logistics may overlook the basics of food safety and satisfaction. Reports also point out that the mix-and-match deals that once seemed like bargains now often lead to higher final bills, once delivery fees, small order surcharges, and service charges are stacked on top. The receipt often tells a different story than the menu board, and that realization leaves many customers feeling tricked. Still, Domino's remains a machine of efficiency, and there are ways to make it work for you. Opt for carryout whenever possible to preserve heat and texture, and request your pizza well done for a more consistent bake. Customizing the sauce-to-cheese ratio can help balance flavors, giving you a pie that feels closer to homemade. These small adjustments do not solve systemic issues, but they help tilt the odds in your favor. Domino's story is a reminder that logistics can outshine flavor when efficiency becomes the North Star. It may be the most optimized system in the industry, but optimization does not always equal satisfaction. If speed alone cannot guarantee a good meal, the next question is just as pressing. What happens when a chain bets everything on being the cheapest option in the room? Little Caesars. When Domino's shows how speed can ruin flavor, Little Caesars reminds us what happens when cheap becomes the only headline. In early 2025, local health departments in states like Michigan and Georgia reported inspection failures, with one location temporarily shut down after rodent droppings were found near food prep areas. Even if these incidents vary store by store, they fuel the uneasy feeling that quality control slips when the main selling point is rock-bottom price. The nostalgia is powerful, though. For many families, the $5 hot and ready was a lifesaver. College students, working parents, and even entire neighborhoods could count on Little Caesars to fill stomachs without emptying wallets. The orange logo and quick handoff of a warm box represented a kind of democratization of pizza, cheap, fast, and always available. People still remember those nights when the hot and ready felt like the glue holding together a Friday hangout or a broke payday dinner. But the same model that built loyalty now creates the most complaints. The heat lamp system means pizzas are pre-cooked and left waiting. Customers frequently compare the crust to cardboard, the cheese loses its stretch, and the whole experience feels closer to reheated leftovers than a fresh meal. Food critics and customer surveys alike rank Little Caesars near the bottom in texture and freshness, with many noting that even supermarket frozen pizzas sometimes taste better. The low price, once a miracle, now triggers what industry analysts call a race to the bottom, where cost-cutting takes priority over real food value. Consumer reports in early 2025 have also highlighted ingredient concerns. In some regions, sauce is made from concentrate instead of fresh base, and cheese blends are bulked up with starches to extend volume. While such practices are legal, they add to the impression that Little Caesars is selling filler instead of flavor. Photos shared online show time stamps on boxes, proving pizzas sat under lamps far longer than expected. Close-up shots of crust show airless, dry dough structure that barely resembles what people expect from fresh pizza. Yet there are still ways to improve your odds if Little Caesars is the only option around. Asking specifically for a fresh-baked pizza instead of taking one from the rack can make a major difference. Adding extra cheese for a small fee helps restore balance to the texture. Visiting during slower hours, when staff are more likely to cook to order, can yield a product that at least feels fresher. For those with time and access, local pizzerias or even homemade pies deliver far better results without stretching the budget much further. Little Caesars is proof that cheap does not always equal value. The $5 legend gave it cultural weight, but in 2025, the compromise is harder to ignore. What began as a lifesaver now risks being a disappointment, or worse, a safety concern when inspections fail. And if bargain speed and bargain price already create such risks, the next change shows how mixing pizza with an all-you-can-eat entertainment model can drag quality even further down. CC's or Chuck E. Cheese. For years, chains like CC's and Chuck E. Cheese sold themselves as more than restaurants. They promised fun. For parents, they were birthday party staples. For kids, they were wonderlands of arcade games, prizes, and endless slices. But in 2025, nostalgia is running headfirst into reality, and the reality is not so comforting. County health records in states like Texas and Florida flagged multiple buffet-style pizza chains with hygiene scores hovering at the lower edge of passing. Customers online described the food as food court level, bland, sometimes lukewarm, and rarely memorable for the right reasons. It hurts because so many of us have warm memories tied to these places. The glowing arcade machines, the sound of birthday songs, the promise of a buffet table that felt limitless when you were 8 years old. A plate stacked with cheesy slices and cinnamon rolls once symbolized freedom. It was cheap, it was fun, and it was more about experience than cuisine. Walking into a Chuck E. Cheese or CC's felt like stepping into a carnival where pizza was just the ticket price. But the cracks show once you look closely at the food itself. Buffets are under constant pressure to keep lines stocked, and that often means relying on frozen dough bases, cheaper toppings, and pizzas held under warmers long past their prime. Critics and former employees have pointed out how consistency breaks down when the goal is volume over care. There are even rumors floating online about recycled slices, where uneaten pieces from the buffet allegedly reappear later. To be clear, those are claims, not confirmed practices, but the fact that such rumors gain traction tells you how low trust has sunk. The economics also explain why. With entertainment and low entry prices as the main hook, food budgets are often squeezed. Fresh dough, premium cheese, or quality meats are expensive compared to frozen, bulk, or processed options. And when managers are juggling arcade maintenance, staff turnover, and party bookings, the kitchen slides down the list of priorities. That's why customer photos from 2025 often show dried-out crusts under heat lamps or pepperoni slices that look tired before you even bite in. The food is not the focus, and it shows. That doesn't mean these places are doomed for everyone. If your main goal is entertainment and pizza is just background noise, they still deliver on fun. Kids rarely care if the crust is chewy when the arcade tickets keep spitting out. For cautious eaters, the best strategy is to stick to items just pulled from the oven, ask staff when a new pizza is coming out, and avoid slices that look like they've been sitting too long. If quality is your priority, though, better options exist just down the road at independent shops, where 10 miles can make the difference between filler and flavor. CC's and Chuck E. Cheese prove that cheap entertainment and cheap food often go hand in hand. They can still be fun for the right reasons, but when it comes to a proper meal, they're a gamble many families no longer want to take. And that brings us to the next chapter. While most chains cut corners, there are still a few that hand control back to the eater and respect what pizza is supposed to be. Papa Murphy's. In a year when headlines about recalls and failing inspections feel endless, one name keeps showing up for the opposite reason. Papa Murphy's has one of the lowest complaint rates per store in the fast casual sector, and in 2025 that feels almost radical. Consumers who walk into one of their locations are often surprised not by what they see, but by what they don't see. No freezers humming in the back, no microwaves stacked for shortcuts, no giant warming racks of pizzas waiting to be sold. Instead, the dough is made in-store, the vegetables are cut fresh daily, and every pizza is assembled in front of you before you take it home raw to bake yourself. That process might sound inconvenient in a world addicted to instant gratification, but it flips the script in a powerful way. The risk of lukewarm delivery or cross-contamination in an overstressed kitchen drops because you control the final step. The moment you put the pizza in your oven, you're in charge of both timing and temperature. And when it comes out, the aroma filling your kitchen doesn't just promise freshness, it feels like family. For many customers, it brings back the comfort of a true family dinner, where gathering around the oven is part of the ritual rather than a race against soggy cardboard boxes. Trust is the factor that sets Papa Murphy's apart. In an industry where many chains quietly reformulate ingredients to stretch shelf life, Papa Murphy's publicly commits to transparency. Dairy blends are free from anti-caking agents, dough is never shipped frozen across state lines, and produce is sliced daily instead of being thawed from bulk bags. This clarity removes the guesswork that so often frustrates modern consumers. You can literally watch your pizza being built, ingredient by ingredient, which makes it harder to hide corner cutting. Of course, safety still depends on some common sense. The Safe If checklist applies here too. First, choose a location with strong inspection scores, ideally 90 or above. Second, confirm that the cheese being used matches the dairy claim without fillers, which Papa Murphy states clearly. Third, keep an eye on whether vegetables look crisp and freshly cut that day. And finally, follow the bake instructions carefully. Oven temperature and timing matter, and the company even provides detailed guidelines to help you nail consistency. These details don't just build trust, they build a sense of agency. In a market where customers often feel powerless, Papa Murphy's hands the steering wheel back. You decide when dinner is ready, you decide how crisp the crust should be, and you see every ingredient before it enters your oven. That's a form of control few other chains are willing to give. So while Papa Murphy's may not dominate the Super Bowl ad slots or flood your social feeds with gimmicks, it quietly delivers something that feels rarer than any discount deal: peace of mind. And maybe the most powerful confirmation isn't the data, it's the community. Loyal fans share their favorite oven settings online, trading tips about pizza stones, convection modes, and perfect bake times. That level of engagement doesn't come from marketing, it comes from trust earned bite by bite. And if Papa Murphy's proves that letting customers finish the job can restore confidence, the question becomes, who else is rewriting the rules by offering transparency across the entire process? Blaze Pizza. At a time when trust in big food chains keeps getting tested, there's one fast casual brand that has quietly built a reputation in the opposite direction. Walk into a Blaze Pizza and you're greeted with something most chains hide. Every single ingredient is laid out in plain sight. Customers see the dough being stretched, the sauces ladled, the toppings layered. That line of sight approach might feel simple, but in 2025, it's a game changer. It eliminates the mystery of what's happening behind a swinging kitchen door. And it reassures people who worry about allergens, hidden additives, or food safety shortcuts. The surprise is how seriously Blaze takes its allergen protocols. While many chains only provide fine print disclaimers, Blaze sets up separate prep zones for gluten-free or vegan orders. Their staff is trained to change gloves, swap utensils, and even switch pizza peels when handling special requests. In an era where food allergies are rising and cross-contamination can be life-threatening, this kind of visible care can turn skepticism into relief. Parents of kids with celiac or dairy sensitivities often share that Blaze is one of the few places where they feel safe letting their child eat pizza without constant fear. That commitment to safety ties into nostalgia in a refreshing way. Blaze's dough sticks to the basics: flour, water, salt, and yeast. No freezer trucks hauling in par-baked crusts, no mysterious conditioners hiding on labels. Each ball of dough is made fresh daily, and when it slides into a 700-degree oven, it's ready in about 3 minutes. The leopard spotting on the crust is proof of heat and craft, something that feels closer to a neighborhood pizzeria than a faceless chain. Trust goes deeper with their sauces and beverages too. Small batch tomato sauce keeps the ingredient list short and recognizable. Drinks lean toward fewer additives, which resonates with younger generations trying to avoid artificial syrups. And that's the real reason Blaze connects so well with Gen Z and millennials. This demographic isn't just looking for pizza, they're looking for food that fits their lifestyle, whether that's gluten-free, vegan, or just clean label transparency. Blaze doesn't push a one-size-fits-all formula. Instead, it empowers customization without judgment, something that creates loyalty as much as flavor. Still, even a brand with this reputation isn't immune to the same rules of common sense. Customers should always run through a quick checklist. First, make sure the prep line looks clean and organized. Second, watch how staff handle allergen requests and confirm they're changing gloves and tools. Third, check that the crust bottom has that signature leopard spotting, which signals a properly cooked pie. And finally, if you or someone you're with has a serious allergy, speak up and make sure the note is written clearly on the order. Blaze may not have the nostalgic red roofs of Pizza Hut or the marketing muscle of Domino's, but it has something arguably more valuable in today's food culture: credibility. In a market where transparency is rare, Blaze makes it the centerpiece of the experience. And while no chain is perfect, the company has carved out a safe space where customization, clean ingredients, and visible preparation meet. For customers tired of guessing what's in their meal, Blaze Pizza offers something bigger than fast service. It offers confidence you can taste. So after taking this ride through the good, the bad, and the downright risky, one thing becomes clear. Pizza in America is no longer just about melted cheese and a hot crust. It's about trust, about whether the brand in front of you values transparency or just shortcuts. Some chains have fallen into patterns of cutting corners, charging more while delivering less, or letting hygiene slip until inspectors call them out. Others, like Papa Murphy's or Blaze, prove there's still room for a better standard if you know where to look. The choice is yours, and your dollars are your loudest vote. If you've had your own pizza horror story or a hidden gem worth sharing, drop it in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into what really happens behind the kitchen door, hit that subscribe button. You'll never look at dinner the same way again.